Right, we're recording, okay?
Okay, cool guys.
Sit down and please start tying.
As you guys have seen, we're tying the spawning shrimp. It's one of my favorite patterns. I've literally caught probably everything that swims on this thing. It's really good fly for bonefish, skinny water bonefish especially. Bumphead parrotfish, they're a big fan of it. We've got some permit eats off of it, which is always nice, but still haven't cracked the code. It's not guaranteed for permit, nothing is. And then, yeah, like everything else that swims, we have bluefin love it. We've caught some big jeets on it, up to 90 centimeters, 95 centimeters coming in and absolutely annihilating something that big. So it is really a good fly. I mean, it's simple, it's straightforward, it's a lot of fun to fish, and yeah, it's one of my go-to patterns. I've always have it in my box, and it's always something like if I'm experimenting, it'll always be there as a good old trusty. And then yeah, this one, it's not tied by me, I won't lie to you. It's tied by LP from Fly Castaway. So this is one of our commercial flies. So I'm going to try my best to try and replicate the thing. Okay, so what I'm using is again the SE15 size 2 and then 3mm dumbbells. Why I use 3mm dumbbells is I like it because of the application I use it for. Most of the time it's more skinny water, more shallow water that I'm using the fly for. Whereas you can go up to 4 or 5mm dumbbells to get it deeper if you want to. But in the flats in the Seychelles, it's not really an option when we're targeting the fish that deep. It's always a struggle. There's always currents and tides and stuff that we're working with. But I can imagine in the salt in South Africa it'll be a lot different. I'd then go with a heavier dumbbell and then probably fish it onto an intermediate line with the slow sort of longish strip just to get it nice and jigging in that working water in the gullies, in the back of the gullies like that. If you get like kingfish and stuff, trevally coming in, nice fast strip, it doubles up as a really good bait fish pattern. Nice fast jerky strip, and with the bigger dumbbells you get a lot more jerk on that, a lot more reaction on the fly. And yeah, let's get tying on the thing. Well, I've got the pinkest thread I could find. Just start off like any other fly. Let down a thread. Okay, and what I like to do is I like to come back and put the dumbbell on first. Some other guys do it last, but I like to do it first. I usually go about the length of my thumb, sort of off the front, so there is space for a wee guard. Yeah, and then you just use the good old figure of 8 wrap on the dumbbell to lock it. And then another trick just to lock that dumbbell in, just go underneath, wrap underneath both of the eyes, build up a base to hold there. If you do have super glue, and you can use super glue, it's just super glue those dumbbells after you finish wrapping. And then like I've seen a lot of with commercial tying of these things, they use super glue just to wrap. They'll super glue eyes and then they'll whip finish, take the fly off the hook. So then if you want to sit down, you want to tie 10, I think that's the best option, is to go like that. Tie 10 flies with dumbbells, put them down. Once you're finished, you're finished. And I go all the way back till where the hook starts to sort of bend like that. Just to sort of start where it bends. Because what you want to do is you want to tie the eyes and the antron and stuff just on that bend, and then come back to the flatter point of the hook to get that craft fur nice and level. So what I start off with is the poly yarn. This is the first time I've used the poly yarn, but it looks really good. And yeah, I mean any sort of orange color, like I mean you can use, I like a bit more hotter orange. Just grab a small section, a really tiny section, even less than that. Probably about maybe 2 centimeters or so, even less. It's a really small little like hot butt section coming off of the back of the fly. Tie that in first. Okay, and then next, like you guys have seen me do, and what you've been doing, is I tie 2 small eyes. They don't have to be big. It's just burnt mono, heated up mono that's melted onto itself. I think I'm using 25 or 30 pound here, but you can go down to 20, maybe even 15. But the eyes aren't a huge important factor in this fly, so the smaller the better. Just take one, sort of just a bit longer than your hot, than the hot spot. In the hot section on the back. I'll tie in one, just make sure that thing's sitting pretty.
time that on either side.
Yeah, one either side. What you can do is also just burn either ends of one single piece of monofilament, and then you just cut them in the middle and tie them on.
Is everyone okay so far?
Yeah, guys, please, don't be shy. Excuse me? The eyes are just more for the shrimp, like, because basically how we tie the shrimp, what we're doing here is how we're imitating the shrimp is from the back. So shrimps, they usually move in sort of, their head is here and they sort of propel themselves backwards like that towards their back end, and they kick like that. So that's what the dumbbells are there mostly for the weight and to get that jig action. They aren't necessarily imitating eyes on the shrimp. The eyes are in the front. The head is at the back of the hook. They're right up against, yeah. I mean, there we go. Literally, like, just the tip of the eye comes past the orange hot section that we tied in first. Okay, and I go back to the front there. Then what I want to tie in next is my flash. What I like to do, sometimes what you can do is you can also take like 1 or 2 strands, longer strands of black crystal flash, just as a bit of a contrast in there, but as near as makes no difference. It's all doing the same thing at the end of the day. So I take probably maybe about 2 or 3 strands of the chartreuse. Of the pearl. Just fold them over once. Pinky in the middle. Fold over end to end. You want to probably go maybe about 5 centimeters or so off the back, but you want to tie it directly straight off along the shank of the hook. It must come straight off the shank of the hook.
Which flash is the normal flash or the blue flash?
This is the pearl, the normal.
How many strands?
About 3 strands or so. You can even use 2. Yeah. Alternate them. Either use 3 strands of pearl and then 2 of the UV, or you use 3 UV, 2 pearl. As I say again, it's important that that flash must come straight on line of the shank of the hook. So it mustn't sit to the side. So then now I take 2 of UV. So I have 2 strands of UV, again the same thing, pinky in the middle, just section that off. Again along the same line. And as you can see, as we start tying all of these materials in, it starts forming that body shape of the shrimp. Very bulbous towards the head. And that's what you want. So don't be scared to make a few extra wraps as you go along with the thread. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do now is just trim that flash a little bit back. Probably take about 1 centimeter, maybe 2 centimeters off there. I want to take a section. My fly burner. Sorry, before we do that. Silly legs. Pink. I usually take 2. What I do is I take the first one, small section, and about the same length as the flash. Take the first one. Put it on there. What I like to do is I like to tie it quite far back, because then that just allows me to angle it. So I'll tie it straight on the top of the hook. What I do is then I split them, come back around, holding them down towards the side of the fly, so they come directly off the shank. They aren't sitting on top of all the material. As you can see, they come off the side of the shank, sort of on the outside line of the eyes, of the two eyes that you tied in there. So it's got the first one tied in there. Now, what you can do is you can take one full length of silly leg, and then you can just cut it in half, and you can use that for all four then. Again, just split it. So just tie back to the original point. Okay, split it.
Everyone on track still? Yeah?
Okay, so as you can see, they come off the sides as opposed to the flash. It comes straight off the back of the shank of the hook. They come off the side here.
When you tie them back to the same point of the time.
Yeah, yeah, it's all the same points over there. Then what I do next, so I take some craft fur, tan craft fur. This is one of my favorite materials. It's one of the most lively materials we get in the water. So again, like I said to you guys, most important thing, brush that craft fur back. Make sure all those fibers are straight. Take a section, cut it right at the base. There's a lot of fluff that comes off the bottom. You don't need that at all.
I'm missing some stick. I can't see like what's going on. Okay, okay, I got it now.
Have you got it, yeah?
I got it now.
What was wrong? Okay, and then what you want to do is just thin out my craft fur till I sort of get the same length on the craft fur. They don't have to be exactly equal. And then what I want to do is maybe go about 2 to 3 centimeters in front of the flash. That's the length of the craft fur that I want. Tie that in. What I find also is like they work really well when you tie the craft fur quite sparse. It doesn't have to be a really dense wad, like, because what we see with the shrimp out there is they're pretty translucent, especially when it comes to the feelers in the front. The longer the feelers are, the more translucent they are. So it's more of a suggestive type of material to put into the fly, just keeping that nice shape and that nice form. And what I do is, you guys might need some more, but I take the pearl flash again, and I take this time like maybe 3 to 4 strands.
Is that on top?
Yeah, it's on top. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just tying it down because I'm just going to make a rib out of it. Like as you can see here, there it perfectly shows. Tying in all these materials gives it like a really bulbous shape, and that gives that body to that shrimp. Okay, so then I tie about halfway back to the body. I take those strands of flash, and I go and I start wrapping just where all the material starts. So wrap, just keep wrapping, but remember that you're going to use this material at the end. It's going to come back along the front, along the back of the fly. Hey, 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 hey. Keep it nice and tightly packed together.
Start
Base,
back.
yeah, start at the back. You're not winding all the way forward. You're basically like just making a hot butt just in front of your materials. And I come back.
How many strands of flash do you do?
The term, it depends. Just enough to make sure that it's got a prominent, sort of it's prominent. It becomes pretty translucent over the pink, and that's what you want. I'll tie that in. I'll tie that back. Just give the bit of body to the fly with the thread. Just helps that zonka to sit a little bit better. So as you can see now, it looks like a prawn that you get at Ocean Basket. Okay, so you see I haven't trimmed off that excess flash. That's important, sorry I forgot that. That excess flash that I just tied in with the butt section, I keep that. I just stroke it back because at the end we're going to use it when it comes back along the body. Okay, so now what I do is I flip that fly. Okay, and I go to the section where I tied in that flash. Then I take a strip. I've got a small strip of Tanzanka here. Tanzanka, and instead of using the body of the zonka, I'm just going to pull back some fibers. You want to keep it quite dense. So I've just basically cut a section of the zonka off.
How long is it roughly?
Oh, it's roughly off of that. It's probably maybe about 1.5 to 2 centimeters. So I'll start trimming that down a little bit. Then what I want to do is I'm going to tie in that zonka, but I'm not going to go longer than the hook. So you basically just want that zonka just to actually be a little bit longer than the hook. That little tuft. Not the easiest thing on the planet in a regal box. Okay, so I give it 2 wraps in front and then 1 wrap behind. Just to make sure it sits up nice and proud. Yo, mistake at all.
Take 2.
Yep. Please edit that out. No, sorry, I just pulled my zonka out there by mistake. Yeah, so again, I cut a section. Measure it. Okay, secure it with a few more turns. Give it a turn just behind. You just want that zonka to sit up. So when it comes back down, it gives a bit of shape to the body. I'll probably go maybe about, not even, maybe just under 1 centimeter forward. You guys all alright so far?
Everyone okay?
What's happening? Lost, okay, cool. Which one do you need?
Just the flash. I got as far as
There we go. That one. Just for that butt section.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You see that?
So you see, it's
Okay.
just built up, so it forms like a butt section just behind.
Okay.
If you look here, it doesn't have to be too big, but you just want it nice and sort of uniform.
Yes, okay.
Because in the water, it shows up a lot better. And then also it gives it, with that pink as well, it gives it a really shrimpy look. Okay, again, take another section of zonka. So I'm going to give it 3 to 4 solid wraps in front. Then one behind. As you can see, like if you split the two, they're standing up quite nicely, like you can see them individually. So you just want that little bit of space between the two. Okay, again, same thing.
How does the second wing relate to the first wing? Does it pass the first wing or just...
Yeah. Past it?
Does it go past the tip of the first wing?
No, it can be the same length.
Okay, same length.
Yeah. It's got to be pretty uniform because you just want it keeping it at the same size. So when it folds down, then it sits nice and flush. Okay, again, I cut a little section of zonka again. Okay, again, this one, I just want to put it and wrap it behind the dumbbell eyes. So it mustn't sit right up against the back of the dumbbell eyes. You wanted a bit of space there. Okay, then what I do, turn that flower over again. As you want that zonka sitting pretty uniform. You need it sitting really flat along the hook. If you look there, it's sitting directly in line with the shank. You don't want it sitting a bit to the left, a bit to the right. You need it, it's like a Mohican. It must sit dead straight. Okay, and then I'll take that flash that I used for the butt section. Bring that back across the back of the body. Secure it once just behind the dumbbells. So it sits directly along the line of the back of the floor. And you can clearly trim that off. Come back over.
which other dumbbell eyes do you tie the flash in? On the hook cape side or on the hook eye side?
On the hook bend side.
Hook bend side.
Back.
Tying off down.
Nah, I'm just adding a bit of extra thread here just to give that zonka a bit of space. It looks pretty natural. And then again, take the zonka again, one last one.
That's in front of the eyes.
This is in front of the eyes. So I've tied off. Once I've flipped, I've gone back into the front of the eyes. Okay, again, I just measure it. You want to tie that directly in front of the dumbbells. Some more zonka. Okay, and that's all. Simple, man. What you can do is you can tie a weed guard in there. It's not necessarily like if we're fishing for bumphead, parrotfish, and sort of triggerfish on turtle grass and stuff, and more on coral, then we might tie in a weed guard. But if we're fishing for like bonefish on white sand flats, nice, easy open areas, it's much better without the weed guard. So what you do then, just for the weed guard, is just simply take a piece of mono, tie it in, and just secure it. Make sure it's the same, just a bit longer than the hook, than the point of the hook, and then make sure it sits nice and upright. But yeah, even with the weed guard, turtle grass is the devil, and it will catch your fly. Does someone have a whip finisher? I left mine at home. Yeah, man, do you have a whip finisher there? Which one's this one? I don't even know how to use this thing.
Huh? Not this one.
No, I use the Easyman one. This wax thread isn't enjoying being whip finished.
I guess. Okay.
Okay, then what I do after I've tied it off, pull the fly out, and then I use the craft fur to determine the length of my silly legs. Sorry, my bad. I use the craft fur to determine the length of my silly legs. As you can see, they're uncut and they're all over the show now. So you want your silly legs just to be a bit shorter than your craft fur. And there we go. There's the finished product. So as you can see, tying that hot butt section just on the bend of the hook, and then that craft fur comes straight off the hook there with the silly legs, with the flash. Important, that hot butt section with the flash, with the UV flash, and then again it looks like a Mohican. And it is one of the #1 flies in the Seychelles.
Well done, Brandon.
Cool. Nice, simple,
Okay,
straightforward.
guys, we'll give you a few minutes to tidy up your flies. And if you need any help from Brandon, you just yell. Brendan, does that fly ride upside down?
It does. No, it does. We fish these flies usually on at least a 17-pound leader. At least 17 in the Seychelles, and I can imagine South Africa it's the same. We fish 17-pound fluoro out there, double X, and yeah, can't go any lighter. Maybe for bonefish you can go down to about 14-pound if they're being a bit picky, but I wouldn't say go any less than that, because you never know, especially in the Seychelles, what could roll up. We've had fishing for bones, and then a huge 120 centimeter, 130 centimeter jeet comes along, and the guy puts a shrimp there, and it eats something this big, just turns and engulfs it. So you never know what could happen. You got to be ready for everything. Cool, got it.